And today we're doing things a little differently. Dre has inspired me, so we're switching our food topic up, and I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, see what you got.
All right, so this is a study that came out recently, and a bunch of news sites spoke about it. And so instead of quoting the news sites, I came straight to the home of the brave. You know what I'm
All
saying?
right. Mm-hmm.
And so this study is talking about sweeteners, artificial sweeteners being linked to higher heart rates and risk for heart attack and stroke. And I know we've spoke about zero calorie sweeteners before,
Yeah.
and I know you like them. And so I said, well, let's start with that. So it says here, and you should be able to see it on your screen, folks. If you're listening, well, you know, maybe watch this one. But basically, there are sweeteners, and there is a study that came out from the Cleveland Clinic. A new Cleveland Clinic research showed that, I don't know how to pronounce this, erythritol or something like that, a popular artificial sweetener, is associated with an increased risk of heart attack and stroke. Findings were published in Nature Medicine, and that's the article there. But this is basically quoting Nature Medicine's article. And so I know everyone has their favorite news sources. Some people like CNN and Fox and all these other places, New York Times, whatever. So I said, let's do it a little different this time, because everyone seems to be quoting this article. And so researchers studied over 4,000 people in the United States and Europe and found those with higher blood pressure, with higher blood erythritol, I don't know how to pronounce this thing, but with those sweetener levels, were at an elevated risk of experiencing a major adverse cardiac event such as heart attack, stroke, or death. They also examined the effects of adding more of that to either whole blood or isolated platelets, which are cell fragments that clump together to stop bleeding to contribute to blood clots. Results revealed that erythritol made platelets easier to activate and form a blood clot. Preclinical studies confirm ingestion of erythritol heightened clot formation. And so there's a quote from this doctor, and he's one of the senior authors. And the quote is, "Sweeteners like erythritol have rapidly increased in popularity in recent years, but there needs to be more in-depth research into their long-term effects." And his name is Stanley Hazen. He's a medical doctor with a PhD and a chairman of the Department of Cardiovascular and Metabolic Sciences in Lerner Research Institute. And he's a big dog. He also says cardiovascular disease builds up over time, and heart disease is the leading cause of death globally. We need to make sure the foods we eat aren't hidden contributors. And so there's all of this stuff here, and it says, you know, people who do keto, products that claim to be low calorie, low carbohydrate, and keto products. It says sugar-free components containing erythritol are often recommended for people who have obesity, diabetes, or metabolic syndrome and are looking for options to help manage their sugar or calorie intake. People with these conditions are also at a higher risk for adverse cardiovascular events like heart attack and stroke. And so the real number is right here, which is really what people probably care about. And it says here, and I'll highlight it, erythritol is about 70% as sweet as sugar and is produced through fermenting corn after ingesting erythritol. I can't pronounce this shit. After ingestion, it is poorly metabolized by the body. Instead, it goes into the bloodstream and leaves the body mainly through urine. The human body creates low amounts of this naturally, so additional consumption can accumulate. All right, so you guys get it. I don't need to keep reading. This is a long article. There's a video. This is speaking about studying the gut. And here's all the stuff about them for the people who care. And so that's it. I'm going to stop sharing and close this out so we can have a quick chat.
Yeah,
and so Yeah, I don't need these specs anymore. We could take those off. So yeah, I know that you're a big fan of these 0 calorie sweeteners, and I saw this article a while ago and saved it. And I said, man, we should discuss this because I know Dre's a big fan of them, and other people are too. A lot of people look for things, and these labels, as we have said before, can be very tricky. And so these labels will say things like 0 calorie, keto friendly, or whatever. And so you look at these labels and you think, oh man, this is great. I'm going to drink tons of this instead. And so now we see that it actually might be just as bad. And so, yeah, I was wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, as you were saying it, I wanted to kind of, look up.
Mm-hmm. That's my alarm. It'll shut
Yeah,
up.
it's all good. I want to say it's erythritol. I'm not sure how to pronounce it myself.
Yeah, the big E.
But yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. But it's so it's a few things I want to say. So let me kind of take my time.
Yep.
And
is that too loud? Should I turn it off?
You probably should turn it off.
All right, 1 second.
All right, erythritol.
Uh-huh.
Erythritol. That's the one you're talking about. So erythritol, it is kind of a tongue twister, if you will.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, so that's a study on erythritol, but and I'm not going to say act like I'm an expert in erythritol. I'm certainly not.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just say off the back, there is no healthy sweetener, right? And so then the question would be, well, then why are you using it? Because it's better than the sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I use it, and I use it sparingly. I don't use tons of it. I use it just for what it is, just to get a little bit of sweetness with it. So let's say, for example, I got a gallon of water. I'd use maybe like 1 packet of like an alternative sweetener and add it to that just to give it some sweetness, and that's about it.
Okay.
Now, I would never say that any of these things are healthy, but what I have been saying and still do say it, it's better than high fructose corn syrup. It's better than loads and loads of sugar, because at least you're not getting the calories.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? It won't, like, you can like one of the things it didn't say when you just reading that, it didn't say, oh yeah, and obesity, right? You're not going to get obese by having these things. So that's the one reason why I'm like, hey, like any kind of drug, we know that sugar is incredibly addictive. So what I like to do for myself and for clients of mine to say, okay, here's an alternative sweetener that's going to get you to at least not consume the same amount of calories, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be like, yo, man, but I gotta have a Coke, I'm going to be like, yo, then have a Diet Coke. Not saying it's healthier. I'm saying at least it's less calories, right? It's less calories, therefore you're not consuming as much calories as you would. Rather than consuming 200, 300 calories, you're consuming 0 calories, all right? And people will be like, well, it don't taste the same. Of course it doesn't taste the same, but there is some sweetness to it.
Right.
And the way I like to do it is, okay, you want to have less of that as possible, but you got to start somewhere. So I try to meet people where they are, right? So rather than ingesting tons and tons of sugar, I'm like, hey, let's do the sweeteners first, and then we can kind of like get off of that, slowly and slowly. But I use them, and I use them very, I don't know about that one. I'm big on stevia, which is also
so stevia has this in it.
I don't know if stevia has it, because from what
it said it. I read it.
But stevia is a very different compound. So
maybe I can look it up and share my screen again.
Yeah, and maybe I can show you what I'm looking at right now. So erythritol is a sugar alcohol, and stevia is natural sugar. It's a natural sugar. So stevia is derived from a plant. That other one is derived from alcohol. Erythritol. You can hear it in the tall, right? It's an alcohol-based product. stevia is a plant product. You can
Yeah,
plant
CNN
stevia.
says yes. Same article is quoted. Erythritol is also the largest ingredient by weight in many quote unquote natural stevia and monk fruit products, Hazen said. Because stevia and monk fruit are about 200 to 400 times sweeter than sugar, just a small amount is needed in any product.
Okay, so
If you want, I could
uh,
share the screen, but I'm reading it from the CNN article.
now that's cool. I'm gonna share. I'm gonna read this real quick. So erythritol is a sugar alcohol, right? The
Mm-hmm.
benefit of erythritol is that it doesn't cause the same digestive problems as other sugar alcohols
Mm-hmm.
because it's found naturally in many foods that humans have consumed for millennia: grapes, bears, melons, and even mushrooms. Our digestive systems is familiar with it. It is popular, low calorie polyol found naturally in fruits and foods. I'm sorry, that have been consumed by humans for thousands of years. Huge points for having no effect on our blood glucose levels and providing no belly fat, including fructose. But now stevia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stevia is derived from a plant native to South America. It has been shown to help lower blood pressure and level off blood sugar, making it a great way to flavor boost your coffee. Many experts have speculated that because artificial sweeteners don't activate the release of satiety hormones, they may lead people to overeat at their next meal. However, a study, and so there's so many different studies, right? You
Mm-hmm.
never know who's funding these studies and where these studies is coming from. That's why it's best to get all the information you can. However, a study in the Journal of Appetite found that might not be true. The research showed that whether you were healthy and lean or obese, drinking a cup of tea sweetened with regular oat sugar caused participants to eat over 300 calories more throughout the day than those who consumed stevia. So, and that's the other thing I want to touch on is that this is one study. And so one
Mm-hmm.
study does not make a thing, does not validate or invalidate a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how many participants were in that study, right?
4,000.
Um, it doesn't necessarily say, okay, well, who conducted the study? It's one study, and I'm not saying well just throw it in the garbage. I'm saying okay, that's one study, and then there's other studies. But the fact is, for me personally, I don't believe in taking mounds and mounds of this stuff. I don't feel like uh, the heavens has opened and blessed us with artificial sweeteners, and we should just all be having artificial sweeteners all the time. I feel
Uh-huh.
like you use it like any other tool, right? As
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to stay on your diet and you have to make a choice and it's like, well, I do want something sugary right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should I go and have a Coke or should I have a Diet Coke? Should I get this cake or can I get a cake that was made with an artificial sweetener?
Mm-hmm.
Not saying it's healthy, once again, not saying that at all, but what I am saying is I believe it's a better choice, you know. And let me just be, completely 100. It's like here's the deal. The reason why I feel like you don't want to overload with these artificial sweeteners because your brain still sees it as a sugar,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if your brain still sees it as a sugar, that means whenever you ingest it, it's going to raise your insulin levels. And if your insulin levels are always raised, then this is when you can have problems as far as diabetes and things like that because you have constantly high insulin levels. The way we lose weight is we have to get the insulin hormone to go down. Once the insulin hormone is down, close to zero, then your body can start using body fat to, you know, to get that energy. But as long as you have high insulin, you're never going to lose body fat. So you can be eating all the, stevias and artificial sweeteners, all day. And that's going to be a problem because your insulin is going to still be up. And I see this with people all the time, right? They're like, I drink diet soda. How am I not losing weight? And it's like, you drink too much of it. You know what I'm saying? You having you have 6 coffees a day. You put artificial sweeteners in it, and you're thinking, well, I should lose weight. No, you cannot have that stuff all day, every day. if you have a coffee in the morning, it should be one coffee, use your artificial sweeteners, and then that's it. Not the entire day. Okay, I have a coffee, now a Mountain Dew, now
Right.
you know what I'm saying? You know, now a Red Bull, and now a blah blah blah. And then it's like, well, all these have, you know, 0 calories on it because they're all using artificial sweeteners. And you know, it's a mystery why you're not losing weight, because your insulin levels are staying high throughout the day. That is a problem. So I never, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I would never say drink this stuff all day. No, replace it, but use it sparingly. You know, you can have it with your coffee in the morning. You should wait 3 or 4 or 5 hours before you have something else with it in there. And then no, every time you consume it, you're spiking your insulin levels. And therefore you need your body to at least 2 to 3 hours to get it back down, so your body can start using your body fat to fuel whatever it is that you need to do.
Got it. So the CNN article says that it's the main ingredient in stevia and monk fruit products, because stevia and monk fruit are about 200 to 400 times sweeter than sugar. It says at the end of that, which I didn't get to say, is the bulk of the product is, how you pronounce it? Erythritol, which adds the sugar-like crystalline appearance and texture consumers expect. And so I clicked on stevia because you can on the CNN Health article, and it took me to FDA.gov, one of our favorites. Ha 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 ha. And that speaks about steviol glycosides.
Yeah.
And it says steviol, steviol glyco. You want me to share it?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Steviol glycosides are natural constituents of the leaves of Stevia burtoni. Burtoni, a plant native of parts of South America and commonly known as stevia. They are non-nutritive sweeteners and are reported to be 200 to 400 times sweeter than table sugar.
Exactly.
And so there goes the same information from the good old FDA.
Yeah, that's why you only need a little bit of it. You know, that's why companies like to use it, because they don't have to use that much, right? Very little goes a long way. 200 times sweeter, 700 times sweeter. So you just need a little bit of it, and it's 0 calories. And that's why I like using it. That's why when I say I use it, you know, when I'm in class sometimes, you know, I have this, like, you know, one of these about this size, right?
Right.
My girl is on here.
Sarah!
Sarah's joint.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, all right, one of these in a tiny packet that's probably about the size of my pinky with a very little bit of it. So it's like all this water with just that much in there. You know?
Right.
And sometimes I like the kids will be like, oh, you need 2 packets, you need 3 packets. I'm like, no, you don't. 1 is all you need, and you're going to taste the sweetness. That's all you need. You just need a little bit for a lot. You know what I mean? So even in a gallon of water, you just need 1, and it's going to give you that little bit of sweetness that you want, you know, so you can, you know, drink more water if that's what you need to do. But yeah, I would never like OD on it. Like, nah.
Right, but that's the problem. The conversation is less about Dre and more about the people consuming these things. Yeah. And because you might do that, but that packet is saying exactly what those kids are saying, because I've bought those packets too. And they say per 8 ounces or per 16 ounces, not a gallon. A gallon is 128 ounces.
Yep.
That's like 6 or 7 packs of that shit, according to the label. Exactly. And that's why I wanted to discuss it, because me and you know, I try not to use them at all because I already have a high sugar intake. But yes, there are times when I'm like, man, I've had a lot of water. I need a little flavor. And I'll do the same thing. Half a gallon of water, a gallon of water. And I'll take that packet that says 8 or 16 ounces and pour it in my water. And that's it. And my daughter has done the same thing. She's like, Dad, you're supposed to use way more. Look at the back. And I'll show her and I'll say, you know what? You're right. Now taste this. She'll be like, oh, it tastes pretty good. Yeah, because you don't need it to be such a sweet drink. And so that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I know
no, I'm glad. Yeah. I'm going to say I'm glad you did, because I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'll say, 1, I know you're a fan of them. And 2, I wanted to highlight that because if you're following the label would have you pouring a ton of these packets in a 1 gallon water.
Right.
And that's how most people are consuming them. Even the stevia, I have seen plenty of people put packs and packs of stevia in their coffee. I'm like, man, you put six sugars in your coffee? They're like, nah, this is all stevia. I'm like, son, you just put 8 packs of stevia in a small cup of coffee. And then they say what you said. Then they're like, yeah, but this is my 3rd cup. I'm like, oh no, not your 3rd cup.
And so they write, this is what I'm saying. So they're right in terms of there is no calories. You can pour an entire gallon of it inside your coffee if you want to. There's zero calories in that. But your insulin levels are going through the effing roof. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? So it's like, nah, you don't need to do that, right? Like, yo, a little bit will do you. Like, and I'm actually really glad you brought this up because yes, it is important. This is why we made this show. We kind of do like a lot of consumer sort of awareness, you know what I'm saying, to get the truth out there when it comes to fitness and health. And so, yeah, a little dab will do you. Like you're saying, the articles you read, this thing is 200, 300, sometimes 700 times because all these artificial sweeteners have different.
They vary, yeah.
Yeah, vary, and they have very different glycemic index. So it's like the sweetness that it gives can vary. So what happens, I think people say they see it as a sugar replacement. And so it's like, well, I normally put 6 sugars into my coffee, so I need to put 6 of these into my coffee.
Yes.
No. You know what I mean? Like, no.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you don't need 6 of these. This is way more sweeter.
Way more.
Right. Put 1 in there, maybe 2. You good. You don't need 6 of them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even though that's the way you might use sugar, but because this is so much sweeter, you don't have to use that much. And yeah, it takes education because you know what? You're right. The people who make these things, they want you to use more so you can use it up and buy more.
Right, of course.
They don't want you buying a $1 packet like I do, right? I go to the dollar store. There's 5 or 6 of them in the packet.
Right.
And that 1 packet could last me for mad months.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear that.
How dare you do that?
Right. This one thing that I bought for $1 is going to be in my cupboard for a month. Nah, son. I need you to get some more. Right. You need to be buying these.
You're supposed to put that whole
day.
pack in your gallon.
Right. You're supposed to be doing that on a daily basis. So at the end of the week, you need to buy more. Not at the end of the month. Right. But you probably use them the way I use them. And now we would like our audience to, at least people who listen to us, to realize, yo, you don't need that much. And this is how you can save money and perhaps save your cardiovascular system, as you're talking about, and maybe not be pre-diabetic by giving your brain these sugar signals, because that's the way it works. Right. Giving your brain these sugar signals going to your head, and it's producing so much insulin. Your body keeps producing all that insulin. That's how you become pre-diabetic, So we got to get that down, and you don't need to do that. So, man, this was excellent. This was an excellent food topic, man. I'm glad
Thank you. I say, Dre switched it up with the Cardi B and Offset meal. I'm going to switch it up on him, too. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to hit him home one time. You know what I'm saying? Let me hit him in the alternative sugar pack. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
That's it. Actually, I was going to pull something else up. We good. So, yeah. So, that's why I wanted to discuss it, because I know, I know me and you use very little. I actually bought a pack months ago. It was a box. It's still in my locker at work with like 2 or 3 packs. It's only a 6-pack.
Right.
That's it.
It lasts you 6 months.
And I'll be honest, I thought about throwing that shit out because I'm like, I already have too much sugar in my body. I don't need sugar alternative in there too.
Yeah, I mean, you're like me. Like, I buy it. It stays up there for months. Only when I feel like I really need it. Like, yeah, I've been drinking a lot of water. I take a little flavor with it this time.
Right.
So what? That's all.
I had this little squirt thing from Walmart. It's the same thing, but it's like a bottle. And it says every now and then it says 1 8-ounce, put a squirt. But I was putting 1 squirt in like a 1 liter, a 2 liter, 2 squirts in a gallon. And my daughter was like, Dad, you could put more squirts. You know that, right? You can hold it longer and more comes out. It's about, I don't need more. I just want a little splash of flavor. That's all.
Yeah.
She's like, no, Dad, you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay.
Right. You know, that's the thing, because you are right that she's right, that she's looking at the packet saying, well, they
Right.
said every 8 ounces, so I need to follow directions. But this is one, and we have to realize, we have to educate each other, because these manufacturers may not necessarily always be giving you the best information.
Of course not.
You know? So
because at the end of the day, it's about their bottom line. It's about
Right.
them making money. And like you said, you consuming more and more and more. Why? So you could consume more, which means you buy more, which means they profit more.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, use 12 packs of stevia. Thanks.
Exactly. Right. You know, it's like, yo, man, that one would have really, and sometimes you could take so much that you become like sweet blind. You can't even tell that it's sweet anymore because you put so much into it.
Right. Or it just won't affect you the same way because your body starts building a tolerance and now you do need 6 packs.
Right. That can happen too.
Now you're like, nah, 2 packs just don't do it for me anymore.
Yeah. Yep. The same way with we've talked about this before. The same thing with caffeine, right?
Yeah.
Or pre-workouts. It's like, well, if you're a person that I have to have my coffee, and you have to have, at one time you started, you only needed 1 coffee. Now you need 2 coffees. Well,
Right.
then now you need 3 coffees and 4 coffees. Before you know it, you got to have 5 or 6 coffees throughout the day to do the same amount of 8 hours of work you always been doing. Well, why is that? Because your body is getting used to it. The caffeine don't have that same, effect that it used to have.
Any substance,
your body going to get used
substance.
to it. Yeah. So how do you fix that? You have to taper off of it. You got to be like, yo, you know what? For 2 weeks or so, I'm not going to have no caffeine.
Right.
And it's the same thing with sugar. If you say to yourself, I'm not going to have any sugar for 2 weeks, none, 0, as hard as that is, even a week, as hard as that is. Once you have sugar again, you're going to be like, damn, this is sweet.
Right.
Because your body's like, whoa, you stop feeding it that thing. You know,
absolutely.
Definitely going to have those withdrawals too.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to finish, but them headaches going to be serious.
Yeah.
Serious withdrawals. But all right, that was great. Let's move on to our fitness topic because